Welcome to Small Girl Big Talk, where we talk about all the big stuff in adulthood, like self identity, relationships, money, health, and all the other important things that you care about. I'm your host, Wendy, and my hope for this podcast is for it to bring comfort and help you to feel a little bit less alone in your adulthood journey. This week, I want to take you a little behind the scenes on how I conduct my weekly reflections. This is a habit that I've cultivated for over, it's almost a year now. And I think it's been very helpful for me to take a short step back at the end of every week to reflect and review on how my past week has been. And I definitely think that it also helps me to stay grounded, to be in touch with my inner self, and to stay focused on the dream life that I am building. So, I'm going to take you through the questions that I now ask myself at the end of every week in my weekly reflections, because I find that if I were to share with you my own examples, it would be easier for me to explain to you. And after that, I am going to then share with you what are some possible things that you should consider as you are crafting your own weekly reflections as well. So let's get into the questions that I ask myself every single week. The first question that I ask myself is, how was my week and how did I feel about it? So, this is where I would actually go through my calendar on all the events that happened in the past. And I would also go through my photo album because I love taking photos to commemorate whatever that was happening throughout the week. So, this is when I can actually review the highlights of the week. And at the same time, when I ask myself, how did I feel in this week? I'm able to check in with myself emotionally and note down how I feel. And something that I realize as I do this every single week is most of the time, this is when I actually feel a sense of gratitude on the life that I have. And that's because on a day to day basis, as we are focused on all the things that we want to achieve or we couldn't accomplish, that's when we are constantly in a more stressed up and uptight and overwhelmed mood. And I gotta say, that's me most of the time, unfortunately. But having these weekly reflections allow me to look back into a week and realize that, hey, actually, a lot of things happened this week. And I'm really grateful for them. Like, as much as I feel overwhelmed, and sometimes I feel like it's a little bit tough to juggle between all of these things that I want to accomplish, I look back into my week and I feel like, okay, I think I did pretty all right. And I'm grateful for this amazing life that I have. So I would say that this is almost like a question that I ask myself to also count my blessing. It's almost like a gratitude journal as well. So that was the first question that I asked myself. How was my week and how did I feel about it? Moving on to the second question, and that is, financially, am I making progress or do I feel good about money? Now, one of my top most variable that I look into right now at this stage of my life is money. Because with everything that I want to achieve in my life, like I want to have a wedding, I want to buy a new car, and what I need to accomplish that is money. So I really do have to check in to see where I am at this point financially. But I also realized that as much as I track my expenses and income, I find that there is more to it that I want to measure. And that is whether or not am I practicing an abundance mindset to attract the wealth that I want. I realized that the financial journey is actually quite a spiritual journey. And this is something that I've learned throughout the years of like reading finance book and pretty much trying to make money in my own life. And I realized that sometimes just being fixated on the amount of money, like the actual numbers, it can be quite daunting, especially if you are not really there yet. Like looking at the amount of money that you have in your bank or looking at that debt number or all of these numbers, it can be quite discouraging and daunting and stressful. And it's not a nice energy that I have. And when it comes to making money, I want to have good energy with it. I mean, I'm getting a little bit spiritual, but I think if you get it, you get it. So the question that I ask myself is, am I making progress or do I feel good about money? So am I making progress? So as long as I am no longer in debt, as long as I am working towards making more money, I feel good about it. And do I feel good about money? This could be times when maybe at the end of the month, when I'm spending a little bit more and I don't have as much left in my bank account, I might feel a little bit more scarcity. Like I feel like I don't have enough anymore. And when I check in with myself, I'm able to kind of like review how I feel about it. And then I'm able to remind myself of whatever it is that I already have, or whatever wins and celebrations that I can have. Or perhaps I remind myself of certain income that I'm expected to have in the coming weeks or months. And it helps me to maintain an abundance mindset. So that's the second question that I ask myself about money. And third question that I ask myself is about my health and habits. So I would ask myself, was I leading a lifestyle that I am proud of this week? And this is the area of my weekly reflection where I would actually open up my apps on my phone or my calendar to track certain things. So, number one is sleep. So, something that I've learned in my personal growth journey is that sleep is so damn fucking important, right? And I realized that for me to function optimally on my day to day life, I need to sleep for a minimum of 7 to 7.5 hours at least every single day. But this is really tough if you have a very busy lifestyle like I have, right? So I wear a smartwatch to go to bed every single night. And so what I would do every week is I would just look at the past 7 days of my average sleep time and also the quality of the sleep, like how much deep sleep am I getting every single day. And on weeks that I'm a little bit more busy, maybe I'm traveling, maybe I have a lot of things going on, chances are my amount of sleep is gonna be lesser. It's probably gonna be like 6 hours or 6.5 hours. And that's when I review on a weekly basis and look at that, I can remind myself that, hey, it's been a couple busy time, but you really gotta prioritize your sleep. So let's try to sleep for an average of 7 hours next week. So that's the first thing that I track. Next up, I look into my meditation frequency. So I aim to have a daily meditation practice. And whenever I meditate every single morning, I actually use a meditation app called Calm to help me to track my meditation. So I just need to open up the app and see how many days did I actually meditate this week. And next up, it's workout. Like how many times did I get to work out this week? And I also look into my intermittent fasting frequency. Like, did I actually get to intermittent fast for at least 16 hours a few times this week? And I also check if I was able to read this week because that's also a habit that I want to continue to cultivate as I live my day to day life. So, this aspect of my weekly reflection is when I looked into these habits. And one thing that I need to remind you is when you track these things, right? You are not expected to be 100% in every single aspects of your life because we are humans and life happens. It is impossible for you to be able to accomplish every single thing that you want to do in your life and still get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every single day and still meditation every single day and work out 5 times a week and I don't know, like eat healthy every single day. Like it's very hard to be maintaining everything in your life. And this weekly reflection, it's more so for you to be self aware on your current status. It's not for you to judge or reprimand yourself for not doing good. It's here for you to review so that you can do better next week. I want to remind you this because I have been in a place where I started to feel bad that I wasn't progressing. And I realized that, hey, that's not a healthy way of maintaining habits, it's not exactly why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to help myself feel better, not to make myself feel bad. So just want to remind you as you create your own weekly reflection plan, right? Okay, so the fourth question that I ask myself is about happiness. I ask myself, do I feel happy this week? And this is quite a general, vague questions. Like I'm not specifically looking into my emotions, but generally, I just want to ask myself, like, do I feel like I'm living a life filled with happiness this week? But the reason that I ask myself this question is because I'm also pretty realistic about the fact that we all may die tomorrow. Okay, in a very realistic way, not a morbid way. It's not that I am being pessimistic and I think that I'm going to die soon, but it is just a reality. We really don't know what is our timeline on Earth and what could happen today or tomorrow. And for me, I am perfectly fine if I were to die tomorrow, as long as I feel like I've lived a happy life. And so I ask myself, do I feel happy this week? And overall, to be completely honest, as I look into my own reflection, almost every single week that I do a reflection, I feel like I actually live a pretty happy life. Like I'm perfectly fine if I were to die today or tomorrow because I've lived a very happy life. And yeah, that's a question that I ask myself. I know it's kind of weird to be describing this, but I do check in on that. And the last question that I ask myself is about my dreams. Am I working towards my dream? So I believe now that you've been tuning into my podcast for a while now, you know that I am a huge dream chaser. And that is because there's this vision of my life that I can really see myself living. And I think that's what's going to make me truly happy and fulfilled on earth. And I'm working towards it. And I want to make sure that I keep myself accountable towards my goals. So those were the five questions that I asked myself. Number one was, how was my week and how did I feel about it? Number two is about financials. Am I making progress and do I feel good about it? Third, it's about my health and habits, where I track all these little details in my life. And I ask myself, do I feel happy? And am I working towards my dream? So these are the questions that I ask myself because in this season of my life, that's what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on money, I'm focusing on my dreams. So I ask myself these questions. And the questions that you are going to ask yourself on your weekly reflection, it's going to be different because you have a different focus in your life. You may be in a very different season in your life. So for you, I'm just going to give you a few examples over here on how it could look like, okay? So if you are a mother and maybe you are in a season of trying to turn the focus back to yourself instead of on your children and your family. And so maybe the question that you ask yourself could be, did I honor my alone time and spend time with myself this week? And if you really want to track it, like maybe you have a target of spending alone time at least 4 times in a week. So perhaps you can track if you've spent 3 out of 4 days this week with yourself and truly being yourself. Or another example could be maybe your focus is to improve your relationship with your partner. And perhaps you might want to track if you are having sex with your partners or how many times are you having sex with your partners. That could be something that can really change the status of your relationship with your partner. Or, I mean, without the sex, it could be communication because I think that's even more important than sex. But it's your choice. It's your decision on what works better for your relationship. That's just an example. Or for example, if you are in a season of focusing on health and wellness, and if you don't do stuff like intermittent fasting like myself, maybe for you it could be tracking the number of days where you manage to eat clean. So, your weekly reflection is truly dependent on what season you are in and what are you trying to focus on this quarter or this couple months or this year. And in the process of crafting your weekly reflection template, here are a few other things that you might want to consider as you are deciding on the questions to ask yourself. So, the first thing that you want to think about is how long are you willing to take every single week to complete this reflection? So, this is something that you want to do for yourself and you want to make it a habit to do it every single week. So, it has to be a time frame where you are willing to quote unquote sacrifice your time to do. And for me personally, I find that I take about 30 minutes every single week to do it on a Sunday evening. And for me, I'm willing to go up to 30 minutes because I now see the benefits of this reflection. It is a time where I actually am able to take a step back from my day to day focus and to look into the bigger picture. So I'm willing to spend 30 minutes on it. But if this is a new habit that you're cultivating and you feel like you don't have enough time, I would say maybe 15 minutes is enough for you. If you look into this time frame, that's when you can decide how many questions you are willing to ask yourself and answer every single week. Because I think when it comes to crafting all these new habits and reflections and stuff like that, most of the times we all get ambitious and we want to review and check every single thing in our lives. But chances are, if there's only this much time that you are willing to spend every single week on this reflection, you got to be realistic with the questions that you are asking yourself and basically prioritize what's the most important thing for you. And the next thing that you want to consider is you need to find a way to make it easy for you to do this reflection. Because the last thing we want is for you to cultivate a habit that you have so much resistance in actually just doing it. So I would suggest to make it as simple and accessible to you as possible. It can be as simple as using the Notes app on your phone because every single phone has a Notes app and you can definitely open it up just in a tap. Or if you are someone who prefers to handwrite your weekly reflection, then perhaps you just want to put your journal on your desk every Sunday or Saturday morning. Whenever you choose to reflect, put it there so that it is within reach whenever you are ready to work on your reflection. For me personally, I've made the process even easier by creating an online template where I click on a button and all of the questions are already typed out and generated for me. So all I needed to do is fill in the blanks and answer the questions. I am going to elaborate more about this template in a couple minutes because there is something amazing that I would like to share with you later in just a couple minutes. Okay, I have one more point that I want you to take note of when you are deciding on your weekly reflection process. And that is for you to remember that it is okay to skip your weekly reflection. Okay, like I was saying earlier, the purpose of this reflection is to help you feel better about life and to improve your life. It is not here to make you feel worse about your life. So it should not be something that makes you stressed out if you missed it, right? On some weekends when I've been out all day or traveling and I've other more important things to do as I wrap up the week, I actually consciously choose to skip my weekly reflection. Or perhaps I would just do the bare minimum. So my bare minimum is I would update the photos into my weekly reflection page without answering any questions. So I just review my photos, I upload them into my weekly reflections. Okay, I think I forgot to mention this. Which is when I do my weekly reflections, I do upload photos, like the highlights of the weeks, so that there is a gallery for me to look back, like a weekly journal kind of thing. But yeah, so on weekends, when I'm too busy to answer the questions, I would do the bare minimum. So yeah, habits take time to cultivate, and it should be an enjoyable process. If you are too harsh yourself and you stress yourself out about it, chances are the habit is not going to stick with you. All right. So those are the things that you can consider as you are deciding on your own weekly reflection process. I hope that the tips has been helpful for you. And so I want to share with you about my digital template right now. As you all may know, I'm the queen of getting organized with my life digitally, which means that I love using apps on my phone or my laptop to organize every single aspect of my life and keep track of my goals. I use apps or my templates to keep track of my goals, my travel plans, my home chores, my grocery list, everything. It's almost like I've created a digital version of myself, and this has allowed me to live my life to the fullest. I know it sounds kind of silly and geeky, but I'm really glad and I'm proud that I found something that has worked for me. And because of this, I've been able to do more in my life. Like, I'm able to still enjoy new hobbies like bouldering, or still have time to have brunch with my friend, while still being able to manage my weekly podcast production and starting a new business on top of a full time job. Like, I'm really proud of everything that I'm able to achieve and the life that I'm living. And because of that, I am actually in the process of duplicating all these digital solutions that has worked for me. This is something that I've been working on for a couple months now, and I'm happy to share with you that I will be releasing more and more templates in the time to come. And so this week, you lucky, beautiful human beings are going to get a free digital journaling template that includes my shortcut for my weekly reflections. So basically, all you need to do is actually just duplicate this template to your own free Notion account. And there's a button where you can click to auto generate your weekly reflections page. It's as simple as that. The tool that I'm using is called Notion. It may seem intimidating at first, but trust me, once you get the hang of it, it can truly become a lifesaver. So I've included the link in the show note and the description box. It is completely free to use, and there's a clear instruction in the page. And if you have any questions or feedback for me in regards to the templates, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know, because I definitely love to keep improving my templates for future users. So, yep, that's all that I have for you today. I hope this episode inspires you to build the habit of a weekly reflection so that you can be filled with gratitude for the beautiful life that you already have, but at the same time, helps you to stay in check with your dream life that you aspire to have as well. I am sending you lots and lots and love as I wrap up this week's episode, and I will see you in my next one.